All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. And today, we're going to tackle something that might just revolutionize your golf game.
Yeah.
Strategy.
Yep.
Ever feel like golf is a game of luck?
Oh, yeah.
Like no matter how well you hit at the range, the course has other plans.
Yep.
We're going to change that. We're going to explore the idea that it's not just about perfect swings.
Right.
It's about playing the probabilities.
Yeah.
Think of it like blackjack, but with a lot more fresh air.
Okay.
We'll uncover the secrets of the miss zone and cover numbers. And trust me, these aren't just fancy terms. They are your secret weapons
Yeah.
for lower scores.
What's fascinating about this approach is that it takes the pressure off, needing to be perfect on every shot.
Yeah.
Instead of chasing that elusive perfect round, we can focus on making smart decisions. That play the odds in our favor.
Okay, so let's unpack this blackjack analogy. I got a feeling there's a lot to learn here.
Absolutely. In blackjack, you can make calculated decisions based on the odds, right? Knowing what cards are already out there influences your bets and how you play your hand. Golf strategy works in a similar way. We can't predict every bounce, every gust of wind, but we can control how we approach each shot based on probabilities.
Okay, so even if my swing isn't perfect every time, I can still control my overall game.
Absolutely.
Instead of just hoping for the best, I'm actually setting myself up for success.
Using statistics.
Exactly.
That's kind of empowering.
And a key part of that is understanding your miss zone. Imagine teeing off, and instead of just focusing on the flag, you visualize this cone-shaped area where your ball is most likely to land. The further you hit, the wider that cone gets.
Yeah.
It's basically acknowledging that not every shot is going to be dead on.
Okay, starting to see the light here.
Yeah.
So how do I figure out what my miss zone looks like?
That's a great question. A simple way is to pay attention to your tendencies on the range and course. Do you tend to slice, hook, or hit it straight? Where do your mishits usually end up?
You can also use a launch monitor to track your shot dispersion and get precise data. Once you know your miss zone, you can start using it to your advantage.
So instead of always aiming for the flag, I might adjust my aim
Yes.
based on my miss zone.
We've got it.
They're kind of like aiming off center on purpose.
Counterintuitively, sometimes the smartest shot is aiming away from the ideal target. If you know you tend to slice the ball, maybe you aim slightly left, knowing that even if you do slice, it'll bring you back towards the center. Pros do this all the time.
That makes me think of that famous shot by Tiger Woods
Yeah.
at the 2005 Masters where he intentionally aimed way right of the green,
Oh, yeah.
knowing his ball would curve back towards the hole. He used the terrain and his knowledge of his own tendencies to his advantage.
Exactly.
Genius.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about another key concept. Cover numbers. These are all about minimizing risk.
Right.
Let's say there's a bunker right before the green. Your cover number is the minimum distance you need to hit the ball. To clear that bunker, even if you don't hit it perfectly,
So if that bunker is 120 meters from where I'm hitting, my cover number might be 130 meters to give myself a safety cushion.
precisely. It's about building in that safety margin to account for those less than perfect shots. And it's not just for beginners. Even pros meticulously consider their cover numbers. It's about consistent strategic play.
I got to admit, all this strategy stuff, it initially sounded kind of overwhelming.
Right.
But as we're talking about it, it's actually making the game seem simpler, not more complex.
You're hitting on a really important point. When you shift your mindset from striving for perfection on every shot to making strategic decisions that minimize risk, you reduce the stress of those inevitable misses. It becomes less about fighting for perfection and more about playing smart. And that's where the fun and the lower scores come in.
It's like you said earlier, taking a page from the blackjack playbook. You're using the odds to your advantage. But instead of chips, we're playing for birdies. Okay, let's do a quick recap for our listeners so they can start putting this into practice. On the course, we talked about golf as a game of probabilities, not perfection. We learned how to leverage our miss zone and how to calculate cover numbers to avoid hazards. What would you say is the biggest takeaway for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway is that incorporating these strategies can transform your game from one of chance to one of calculated decision-making. By understanding your tendencies, planning for your miss zone, and using ever numbers, you're taking control of your game even when you don't hit every shot perfectly.
So I've got a challenge for our listener. Think about the toughest hole on your usual course. How would this new approach change how you play it? Maybe there's a water hazard you always seem to find, or a tricky dogleg that throws you off. Now imagine playing that hole, knowing your miss zone. And having already calculated your cover numbers, it's a whole new way to think about the game. We'd love to hear how these strategies work for you. Until next time, happy golfing.